Hi, my name is Caitlynn. I own Planning with Pedana. I am a day of coordinator and wedding planner. I serve brides in the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area. My ideal client, or the type of bride or groom that I would love to be able to work for, is someone who trusts me and kind of is more of like a go with the flow bride. I am a type A person and I work with a lot of type A brides, or at least they say they're type A brides, but when it comes to the planning and prep that we do beforehand, they trust me and they trust my judgment. They're very flexible as well, just because on the day of your wedding, something might happen and you have to trust me to be able to make that call. As a day of coordinator, I have a lot of different things that we will discuss and plan prior to your wedding day, but it's not limited to those things. So we would come up with a contract together that would discuss those basic things. I would help you create a timeline. We would create a photo shot list together. We create a timeline or a outline for your rehearsal dinner. If I'm not going to attend your rehearsal dinner, I still want to make sure that you and your bridal party have all the information that they need before I get there on the day of the wedding. So we would come up with details for that. I come with a fully stocked wedding emergency kit. I have everything in there, from like hairspray to deodorant and razors and gums, zip ties, anything you might need or anything that might come up as like an emergency on the day of. If I am at your wedding till the end of the night, something else that I offer in my day of coordinating package is to give your vendors their final payment and their gratuities. I help set up all the decor. If your venue is so generous and kind where they set up the decor for you, I do a once over. I like to really discuss the decor with the brides leading up to your wedding in those meetings that we'll have, so that I can make sure that your vision is exactly what we talked about. The worst thing is for a bride to walk in and look at her sweetheart table and be like, that's not how that's supposed to look. So we just make sure that leading up to the wedding day, we are in talks and communication throughout weeks, days, months. There's no limitation to how much time you have to talk to me once you sign. I am your girl. I have brides that are not till July, and I'm talking with another bride for October of 2024. And the day you sign for me, I'm your girl. So my services are not limited to just the day of. We discuss and do a lot of planning beforehand as well. Ooh, why did I become a day of coordinator and wedding planner? Well, this is a very loaded question because a lot has changed since I kind of started getting into it. So I got into it because of my own wedding. There were a couple things that came up on the day of my wedding that I was beating myself up over and was like, I wish I had someone there. So the big thing was I went to the first look with my dad at the hotel while the bridal party went to the church. And my room door was shut, and I do my first look with my dad, and I'm getting in the limo and I realize I don't have my veil. Now I'm getting married in a Catholic church. Like, I'm supposed to have a veil. I paid a lot of money for the veil. So I was then freaking out. I didn't have a room key. I had nothing. Now I needed to get over to the church to make sure that I was at the church before all the guests started arriving so they couldn't see me. And now I'm worrying about a veil. So having a day of coordinator or someone by my side, I figured, well, I could have headed over in the limo to the church. And then when my veil got there, we would have just put it on when I got there. So that was kind of when we got on our honeymoon. I started talking to my husband about like, I think I wanted find a way that I can be a part of other brides' days to make sure that their day went as smoothly as mine did. Now I say there were like a couple hiccups, but it's because I didn't have anybody there. And they were just things as me as a type A person, you know, I'm a teacher. I just wish that there was someone else there with a second set of eyes for me, not someone that worked for the venue. I wish I just had someone there so I didn't have to worry about my sister being those set of eyes for me as the maid of honor. So that was the first part. Then fast forward a little bit, I have some clients and I obviously got married and I had my daughter. And being a teacher, you know, everyone says, oh, teacher's job, you're like 9 to 3 and then you're home over the summers. but it's not enough time. I get home from work and I have to pick her up from daycare, and then I have to come home and cook and clean. And I feel like that my time with her was going to be taken away. So I am now a stay-at-home mom and do this just because I love being a part of a wedding. I love being a part of a bride's special day, and, you know, being there to see their dream as a little girl unfold, and also still being able to raise my family and, you know, do what I want to do outside of being a teacher and a mom. Some tasks that I take care of as a day of coordinator that I enjoy doing, and some of you might be like, what? I enjoy telling people what to do. No, I enjoy actually working with the groomsmen. They tend to be very funny and very open and receptive to having someone there telling them what to do versus brides. I know sometimes your bridesmaids want to help with the planning and want to be there and are like, you don't need a day of coordinator. I'm going to be there. I can help set up the decor. I can help move this from the ceremony. They're not really going to be able to do those things. And the groomsmen, I think, realize that way sooner than the bridesmaids do. So I really enjoy working with the groomsmen because they are flexible, and they also like to help if I do need help, you know, bringing down some flowers off the pergola. Like, I can get on a 12-foot ladder, but if one of your groomsmen is tall and can just snip it down for me, they're just very helpful. So that is one task, or one thing that I really do enjoy, is having the groomsmen just be so accepting of having me there, helping on the wedding day. Another silly one is I love helping the bride get into her dress, especially if a bride is doing a first look with her bridesmaids and her mom or her dad or her stepdad or her grandparents. I'm seeing a lot of more brides do that. So it's special to be able to help that bride into her dress, not only because it's her wedding dress, but so that no one else sees her dress. No one else sees her in that dress until that very moment that she steps out the door and people see her. Some ideas or tips or suggestions that I wish someone would have given me on day of coordinating would be, we come up with a timeline together, but sometimes that timeline may not be stuck to. So initially when I first started doing this, I was like, not just me, because like I said, I work with brides that are very type A, and on the wedding day they say they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, we need to be on schedule, but they are more relaxed on that day. I guess maybe just knowing that I'm there and in their presence. But the timeline, I wish someone would have told me, like, just add a little bit extra more time in there. You're gonna allow for some time, but sometimes like an extra half an hour really will help, so that not that things have ever felt rushed, but you just start looking at that timeline. You're like, okay, we're getting close to, like, the photographer is going to be here and not everyone's hair and makeup is done yet. So kind of just adding a little bit of more wiggle room, a little bit of a more, be a little more time cognizant of the extra downtime, because it's definitely important to have, so that your bride and the bridesmaids don't feel rushed. But on the other hand, you want to make sure that there's not too much downtime. So, in the beginning, that was like a big takeaway for me, especially my first 2 or 3 weddings. Something else, I guess, would be, it doesn't really matter if the bridesmaids like you or not. I'm there for the bride. I'm not there for your maid of honor. So if she doesn't like a decision that the bride, a decision that you and I have discussed, that you didn't want her helping you get into your dress, and she didn't like that on the day of when I said, oh no, I'm helping, her get into her dress. And she's like, no, you're not. And then she's kind of mad at me for the rest of the night. Again, that's something that it took a while for me not to take to heart if someone doesn't like me, because, everybody wants everyone to like you. But there might be times where the bridal party is like, well, that's not what the bride wants. But I know what the bride wants, right? We take so much time into building a relationship. I'm not just coming to your wedding on the day of and being like, hi, I'm Caitlynn, I'm your day of coordinator. We will build that connection. At the end of the day, I want to be your friend, and I want you to be able to trust me, and I want you to know that I have your best interests and needs in mind the whole time. one of the most memorable weddings that I've worked was a couple weeks ago at the Bear Brook Valley in Frieden for Miles and Danielle. This was probably one of the most memorable weddings that I've done because of something that the groom had said to the bride while they were out doing photos while I was eating my vendor meal. When they came back in and it was about my time to leave, the groom had expressed to the bride during their photos outside, he said to Danielle, are we just never gonna talk to Caitlynn again? Like, that's it, she's done. We've been talking to her. We've built this relationship with her over the past 4 months. Like, that's it? And she said, I'm not really sure. So as I was leaving, Danielle said, hey, Miles has a question for you. And he said, do we ever talk again? Like, or is this it? Like, is this our goodbyes? So that was really one of the most memorable weddings that I've done, because just in that moment, it showed the relationship that I had built with a bride and a groom. And we are going to make plans when they get back from their honeymoon in May to Italy to go on a double date. So it was just really nice knowing the impact that I had in, day of coordinating, but we build this relationship beforehand. So it was just really special knowing the impact that I had on them outside of just their wedding day, that they felt so comfortable with me that they were then afraid to lose me in a sense. And, they said, well, you can stay the rest of the night and just party and drink with us. Like, you don't have to go. But just because of the location and it was the only snowstorm that they had up north, I wanted to head home because of the weather. Honestly, my favorite venue is probably Miles and Danielle's venue. It was beautiful. The location's a little tricky because it is far northwest in New Jersey. But it was gorgeous. It snowed, and so they got married in, I guess it's like a barn, but it's not a barn. They don't actually have animals in it, but it's set up like a barn. So they got married in there. And then the cocktail hour was the whole bottom part of the venue, and the cocktail hour had stations, and there was so much room and so much space. You didn't feel like crammed. I feel like a lot of the times cocktail hour at indoor spaces is a very tight area, and you have a lot of people moving and walking around. Like, it's different from inside where the reception is, because you have that dance floor, so you have that designated space where people are walking around and dancing and conversing, and people are over there talking at the bar. A cocktail hour, I see a lot of times excuse me, or they're walking around with the past hors d'oeuvres and you see the server squishing through. And so at the Bear Brook Valley, it was very open. There were stations all around the outsides of the room. They were spread out enough that if there was a little line, that you weren't bumping in with the next station. And the venue upstairs where the reception was, the bar is gorgeous. They have a nice staircase that you can take photos on. They have an outdoor area where you can add on options for not a s'mores bar, but where you can go out and you can make s'mores. It was March, so it was a little bit cooler. So I'm assuming in the summertime or in the cooler or the warmish months of the year, they have these doors, these glass doors that they must open, and cocktail hour or a part of the reception can also be outside, and it overlooks the vineyards, and it just overlooks the woods and the barn, and it's gorgeous in itself. It doesn't need too much decor. It doesn't need too much flowers. It was just beautiful the way it was. Some venues you might find have a bridal assistant, and I'm different from a bridal assistant because you're gonna meet your bridal assistant. Maybe if you tour the venue and she happens to be there, you might meet her, but a lot of the times the bridal assistant you're meeting that day of. And bridal assistants are wonderful to have because they are familiar with the venue. So if I've never worked at your venue before and you want another drink, but the bar is downstairs and I'm working on something else, or I, in my timeline, I have something else that I'm supposed to be doing that during that time, like setting up your decor, you can say to your bridal assistant, hey, can we have another bottle of champagne, or can I have another martini? Like, it's nice because they're there for you, but they're limited to like what they do. They're not going to say, hey, your photographer is outside, can he come in? Your florist is here, they have a couple questions for you. They're not answering questions for you. They're not answering questions on behalf of you. They're kind of there to just help with whatever you might need that the venue can provide you with. So like if you run out of, let's say the venue's offering you sandwiches and you run out of sandwiches, she's gonna go get you more sandwiches. That's not gonna be something I do. I would go find someone and say, hi, the bride is requesting she has another platter of subs because they ate them all and they're really hungry. So those are still things that I can do. I can do anything the bridal assistant does, but the bridal assistant isn't necessarily going to do any of the things that I'm going to do for you. One of my brides, it was a little warm and she had me not go underneath her dress, but like get my hand up in the back of her dress with a fan and was fanning her underneath of her dress. Your bridal assistant isn't going to do that. The bridal assistant is simply there for the venue and is going to help you in any way that the venue can assist you, versus me as your private day of coordinator, your friend. I'm there to ensure in any way I can to make sure that you're having a flawless day, from anything that might come up, or like I said, any payments that might be due, or any questions that you might have, or keeping the bridal party in tabs. If you have a bridal party that likes to drink, I'm going to be like, hey, we need to slow down a little bit. That bridal attendant isn't going to do that. So I'm more of your advocate, your friend, your voice on the day of the wedding versus what the bridal assistant can do for you. Day of coordinators and wedding planners are a little bit different from each other. In my situation, in my company, for Planning with Pedana, a day of coordinator is going to be there for you from the day you sign. The day of coordinator is going to come up with a timeline, the photo list, that whole basic what the day is going to entail of. The difference between a day of coordinator and a wedding planner, they overlap in some areas because the wedding planner is going to be there like a day of coordinator. They're going to be there on the day of your wedding, but some things in addition to the day of coordinating that a wedding planner or even a partial wedding planner, right? Because I, as well as other event companies, they have like partial wedding planning, right? They're going to work with you in what you need. So a partial wedding planner or a full wedding planner is going to be there for more of like the real content of your wedding day, like really what goes into your wedding. By the time you book a day of coordinator, you probably already have your photographer, you have your DJ, you have those things. You might need my help with like signs or, recommendations on party favors or gifts for the bridal party. But the wedding planner, the partial wedding planner, they're going to help you find photographers based off of your needs. They're going to help you find a DJ based off of your needs. They're going to help you create a budget. They're going to create your wedding website for you. They are going to set up the room blocks for you, right? That wedding planner is going to do a lot of those bigger things that you just might not have time for. You have 4 photographers that you're interested in, but their pricing isn't online, their packages aren't online, and you don't have the time to send out 4 emails and then put all of that information together. So for one of my brides that I'm working with now, I am doing partial wedding planning, and we're trying to find different venues based off of her needs and wants. So I've been looking into different venues, getting the quotes and information for her, putting it into a drive so that she, on her own time, can go and check out the venues that we've discussed and look at their budget and look at their options, right? So that it's really hard because so many people are like, well, I don't need a wedding planner. I'm like, well, that's fine. Then you can use me as a day of coordinator, because they are very different in regards to the work that's put in during the process. And then that wedding planner will just be there on the day of to do all of those things that a day of coordinator also does. So the big thing that differentiates me from other wedding coordinators is that I just want to be your friend. I'm not doing this because I have to. I didn't start this business because I was in a situation where I needed the income. I don't need to do this. I do this for myself and I do this for brides. I am only taking 1 to 2 brides a month. I will max myself out at 12 weddings a year. So in the summertime, next May, I already have 2 brides for May. I probably won't take another bride. I want to make sure that I'm still enjoying what I do so that you find my presence welcoming and warming and happy on your wedding day. I could book as many weddings as I want to. I've had brides reach out at the same weekend, but I can't do that. I can't give a bride and groom my all if I know tomorrow I'm gonna have another wedding to go to. So I typically stay at 1 to 2 weddings a month. During those busier months, I'll take 2, but then I might not take for another time throughout the year. Like December is a very slow month. So if I figure I'm gonna take about 12 to 15 weddings a year, I might have, 2 or 3 weddings, 2 weddings in like 3 months time. So maybe like 2 in April, 2 in May, 2 in June during those busy months. So the one rehearsal dinner I did, the fire alarms were going off when I got there. And as the bridal parties and their dates were arriving, we really weren't sure what to do. It was a new situation I've never experienced. Like literally there were 5 fire trucks, police officers, like men in gear coming in. We were like, what do we do? Do we need to find another venue real quick? So I took it upon myself to just go to the owner on the side and kind of just feel him out. Like, are we gonna have to leave? Now, obviously he couldn't say like the fire department is here, like you're gonna have to leave. He's like, I'm not really sure. So just being able to read the body language and kind of just get a feel, I was able to keep the bride calm. I was like, I really don't think we need to worry about it. They're gonna figure it out. You've already paid. We don't need to find another venue to like drive to and figure all that out really quickly. Like, let's just play it out. So I think playing a lot of things out and just relaxing and really not worrying about it too much helps with a stress-free day. What do I want a bride and groom to think about when the wedding day is over? Is kind of like what Miles and Danielle had said. Like, is that it? Like, we just don't talk to each other anymore? I want them to feel like I had an impact on their day. I want them to really know that the investment they made allowed for their day to run as smoothly as possible. I want them to look back and be like, wow, our wedding day was perfect. There was not one thing I would have changed. What lasting impression I would want to leave on my couples is that they just had the most perfect day and knew that the investment they made into having a day of coordinator was confirmed. For prospective clients that, see the price of my day of coordinating package and are really interested in my services, but I'm just not in their budget, I do recommend you continue having that conversation with me and just letting me know. A lot of the times, some brides will be like, well, it's not in my budget. And they don't respond back to your emails. And I think that's hard. It's hard to take as a vendor because I'm not looking to, stick you with this bill. I really, truly, honestly want you to have the day of your dreams. So brides that reach out or prospective clients, they express like, okay, well, this is your package and this is my budget. What can you do for me? We can make up our own custom package. I'm working with a couple brides right now that they wanted the day of coordinating package and they really wanted that partial wedding package, but they're like, I don't think I need everything from that partial wedding planning package, but I really need help. I don't have the time to find a hotel block. I don't have a time to find, she wants a food truck. I don't have the time to book the transportation. Like I just don't have the time to do those couple things. Like, can we work out a package? So that's where I'm doing like a day of coordinating meets partial wedding planning package. And we just custom something tailored to like this specific things you want. I would never say, well, this is what the package is and this is what you get. Like, again, I'm here for you on your wedding day to make sure your day is exactly what you want. And I'm very flexible in being able to work with the budget and work with the packages as much as possible. With all of my packages, I am very accessible for my clients and even the potential clients. And the contract will have different things like services begin at 3 months or services begin at 6 months. That's like when we'll schedule our first big meeting, right? If you're using me as just your day of coordinator, we can't really get into the nitty gritty of what we need to do until about 3 months. That's when your DJ will reach out. That's when your photographer will reach out. That's when you'll have your hair and makeup information. So a lot of the reason why I would say like our services start at 3 months is like, that's when our first big meeting is gonna be, because you have all of those times. You know the arrival of the hair and makeup team, you know the arrival of your florist. So from there, we can then build the timeline for the day of and kind of like what will go into your day. But like I said, I'm very accessible. You can shoot me a text message. I make sure that all my brides have my phone number. You can shoot me a text message as long as my daughter's not sleeping or eating or, you know, I'm not putting her to bed. I will answer your messages almost immediately. I'm also available via email, but honestly, I am very open with my brides. I say, here's my number. Please text me or call me if you need anything. Now, at 12 o'clock at night, I might be asleep, but I would definitely answer you when I get up the next morning. So like I said, I am very accessible, but you know, I do set some boundaries, right? I am a stay-at-home mom. I am a family mom. I do have a family. I have a daughter. I have a husband. So I'm accessible, but there are gonna be times, like especially like if it's a weekend and we have a trip planned, I would obviously let you know. If you were to reach out to me on a Friday and you needed something from me over the weekend, I would be very open, like, hey, you know, I'm not in state this weekend. I will get back to you as soon as I get home Monday morning. Or, you know, if I happen to have my computer on me, it might be like, hey, I'm busy at the moment. Please just bear with me and I will get, you know, if you need me to resend you the timeline, I'll get you over what you need or what you're asking for, or what you're looking for, just within the respects to the fact that, you know, I am a mom, I have kids, I, you know, have family things as well. Ooh, how do I deal with getting ghosted? It definitely hurts. I feel like anyone would tell you that it's not like a good feeling. Like, you reached out to me, you filled out my form, you know, you took the time to go to my website, you read through it, you put your information in, and then you don't answer. And it's like, well, what did I do wrong? Like, were you just not interested anymore? Sometimes I feel like, and it's hard because I was a bride too, right? I went through all of it, and you reach out and you inquire. I guess as a vendor now on the other side, if you're not interested anymore, just shoot an email and say like, hey, I'm no longer in need of these services, because like, it's okay. You hear her.
I'm closing this one.
Nick, keep her quiet. No. We're almost done.
He's like, did you just tell me to keep quiet? All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So being ghosted, I feel like, just as a vendor, now being on the other side of a bride, I just feel like brides and grooms maybe should do a little bit of a better job. Like, if you're taking the time to reach out, I'm also taking that time to reach out. I'm taking that time to email you back. It's not like a mass email, like you inquire and then my system just sends you an email. Like, I am taking that time to review the information that you included in your inquiry form. So being ghosted, I guess you just have to take it. But like, sometimes it's upsetting because you're already putting in the work and you're trying to find the time to like make an appointment or make an initial meeting or find a location between me and my client already putting in that work, and then they're gone. So if you were to sign on as one of my brides as a day of coordinating package, we would meet 2 to 3 times before the wedding day. So I like that first meeting to be about 3 months out. That's where we'll sit down and we'll take all of your vendor information, all of the times that they have given you, and we will really dive deep into a timeline. It will be from the start of the day, even if I'm not there at the start of the day, all the way until you arrive back at, if you're staying at a hotel or if you're going to an after party, right? We will go through a whole day timeline, and it will have it will be to the nitty gritty. It's going to say who's allowed to be there. If you're doing a first look with your husband and you don't want any bridal party there, on our timeline, and the timeline that you can then also give your bridal party so they're aware, it will say no one allowed at the bride and groom's first look. So that's our first meeting, is a real deep timeline, very specific. I'm very detail oriented. Everything goes in there. First look, cutting the cake, first dances, toasts, speeches. You want a photo at sunset. You want photos over on the bridge. We will make that timeline at our next 2 meetings. So it can vary depending if you want to do 3 meetings or 2 meetings. I typically 2 meetings is enough. I'll do a 3rd meeting the week before if I'm not attending your rehearsal dinner, just as a check-in. So at meeting number 1, we make the timeline. Meeting number 2, we talk about the photo shot list, because at this point, about a month out, your photographer wants that photo shot list. They might not sit there and check things off with their pen, but that's kind of where I come in handy and where I play a role with the photographer. We both have the same shot list, but instead of your photographer having to pick up their camera, put it down and say, okay, next I need blank, I'm already there and we have everybody lined up. We have who's next in the photos. So at meeting number 2, we do the photo list and we discuss your details, memory table, decor, your party favors, your gift favors, when you want to bring the gift card table up next to the sweetheart table, if there's anything that needs to be moved, any moving parts that are not a part of the timeline, any of those decor moving parts. If you want something from the cocktail hour and you want it in the reception area, right? We'll really dig into that at that 2nd meeting. And like I said, our last meeting, depending if I'm at your rehearsal dinner or not, we'll probably just hop on a Zoom call. We'll chat for a few minutes or a FaceTime or whatever. Just check in with you, how you're feeling. Do you need anything additional from me? And then I like to just review that timeline one last time. So if an issue arises before, during, or after your wedding day with a vendor, you are not going to have to worry about that. I am your advocate on the day of, but I am also going to be your advocate beforehand. So I had a client who lost their photographer a month before their wedding. So I was up for hours trying to help and do research and trying to find another photographer in her budget that was also available. Afterwards, I have not had any issues with any vendors afterwards. But if something were to come up, I would hope that you would feel comfortable enough to reach back out to me and that I can help you in any way possible. And issues that arise during the day, like maybe a vendor being late or honestly, I've never had any vendor issues other than a florist being a little bit late. But if any of your vendors are a little bit late, I can step in and help your vendor. So if your vendor has all your centerpieces and they're doing an arch and they're doing this and they're doing that, I already know what your decor looks like. So I can kind of just jump in and help them out to make sure that everything's ready for cocktail ceremony reception time. So after watching this, if you are interested in having a meeting or chatting to see if I could be of use on your wedding day, you can check out a couple of different places. I have a Facebook, and you would find me under Planning with Pedana. I have an Instagram, which is also Planning with Pedana. And nice and easy, my website is www.planningwithpedana.com. If you go to my website, you'll find a bunch of different things on there. You'll find an About Me spot. You'll find some testimonials from my former clients. You will find a portfolio filled with amazing photographers and details of and shots of details that they have put together for the brides. You will also find what's most important, my inquiry form. My inquiry form is going to ask for a couple different things. It's going to ask for your name. It's going to ask for your phone number. It's going to ask for your wedding date and your wedding location. Some brides leave off the phone number, which I totally respect. But if I'm being honest with you, for some reason, my email can end up in your spam folder. So if I don't hear back from you after you fill out my inquiry form, right? Of course, I don't have your information if you're not filling it out. If you fill out my inquiry form and I don't hear back from you in a couple days, I will reach out via text message, just letting you know, hey, I did receive your intake form. I sent you an email if you just want to check your spam folder. I can't tell you how many brides, if not most of them, that I have signed and weddings that I have done where the brides are like, I waited a couple days from you and I just never heard back from you. And they were so grateful that I texted them. So just make sure you include that. And if you can't get onto any of those sites for some reason, or you just want to email me, my email address is planningwithpadana@gmail.com. And I would love to be a part of your wedding day and make the day of your dreams come true.